It's 7 o'clock, and I'll call our meeting to order tonight. Kevin, call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Here.
Mrs. Sweet?
Here.
Mr. Bear?
Here.
Mr. Whitaker? Mr. Avery? Mr. Hanna?
Here.
Council has a quorum, so please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. This is the regular session of the Enon Village Council, and this is Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. Additions to our agenda this evening.
Well, I'll make a motion to excuse members Whitaker and Avery from council this evening.
Second.
So motion by Mrs. Sweet, seconded by Mr. Hanna. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Hanna?
Yes. And perhaps a short executive session for the purpose of employment and benefits.
Would you like to say that again? Pull your mic down, please. We can get you. There you go.
A short executive session for the purpose of employment or condition of employment.
And that motion is by Mr. Hanna. We'll need a second.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Sweet. And just call the roll on that to make that official. We'll do the rest of it when it gets time, but just to get it on the record there.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Hanna?
Yes.
All right, that item has been added to the agenda. Let's go into approval of prior minutes. That would be Tuesday, April 26, 2022. And if council is satisfied with those minutes, I would entertain a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
That is moved by Mrs. Sweet and seconded by Mr. Bear. Call the roll.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Hanna?
Yes.
Those minutes are approved as presented. Let's talk about our finances. So you should have all the good reports in front of you and our reconciliation for May, cash summary by fund. I'll start with that one first. General fund, we have $199,000. Street construction, $57,000. The federal grant is still showing negative $110,000. I did talk to our fiscal officer, Mrs. Ewing, and we will make that I think it's $15,000 transfer into from the general fund into that to reduce that by $15,000, and she will be doing that, I believe, this month. ARPA fund, $13,000. Police levy, $303,000. Water operating, $154,000. The contingency, $110,000. Total, $736,481. Looking at the revenue status report, this would be as of the end of April. For the general fund, we've received 47% of our anticipated revenues. I can't remember on the last report whether we had received the local government funding or not, but in any case, we received about 61% of what we anticipated. I know we had not received the rollback, but the rollback did come in, and we received about 50% of that, which is right on the money. And let's go to street construction. Maintenance and repair. We've received about 33% of those anticipated funds. Going to page 3, police levy, 53%. Again, those are tied directly to property taxes with the exception of any type of miscellaneous that we might take in. And on page 4, 34% has been received from the Water Operating Fund. And overall, about 37% we have received our anticipated total receipts for the year. Let's look at our appropriation status report. On the general fund, if you go to page 2, we're about 39% spent of what our total appropriations are. Street construction, about 33%. That was on page 3. Page 4, under police levy, about 31%. And let's go over to the water department, which is page 6. We're about 36%. And we do have down there at the bottom on the water contingency funding where we had paid for the new property about $90,000. So of course, 100% of that's going to show up. Total for the report's about 39%. So that is skewed just a little bit because of that contingency fund being at 100%. And last but not least, we have the bank reconciliation report. And if council is satisfied with all of this, I would entertain a motion in a second to approve April's financial report.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Hannah, seconded by Mrs. Sweet, and called roll.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
All right, the financial report has been approved as presented. We have no presentations tonight. However, I do have one item of communication, and thanks to Mr. Bear, for informing me of Emergency Medical Services Week, and that is coming up next week. It will be May 15th through the 21st, and I have prepared, or a proclamation was prepared, I should say, and it reads in part, whereas emergency medical services for Enon and Mad River Township is a vital public service, and whereas the members of the EMS service teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of all EMS providers who have served along with those. Now therefore I, Timothy Howard, Mayor of the Village of Enon, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 15th through the 21st, 2022, as Emergency Medical Services Week in the Village of Enon. Ben, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'm going to give this to you, actually.
Well,
So
thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks to everyone for their service.
The same week as police officer, right?
Okay, let's go into staff reports, and Kevin, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Council, residents. The first item on my agenda there is the Mayor's, Village of Enon Mayor's Court report for the month of April. There was 14 traffic cases in April. Total funds received for the month, $3,540. Year-to-date, $8,598. Total funds remitted to the state, $587.50. Year-to-date, $1,487.50. Total remitted to the village this month, $2,930. To the state, $7,052.
Wait, that's not to the state, is it?
Total remitted to the village, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Did I say
There
the
you
state?
go.
I'm sorry.
So we'll need a motion and a second to approve that report for the month of April.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Mrs. Sweet, seconded by Mr. Bear. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Just some updates on about the Nature's Work grant. I am going to be meeting with the contractor, Meads Paving, to discuss naturally the increase in asphalt, how it's going to affect the Nature Work grant, with the price that he proposed initially. We're going to meet, he told me to call him on Monday, and we're going to meet out there and just kind of go over the whole game plan again and see how much it increased. I did call Dolores, the grant coordinator there at ODNR, and we're not the only one that's been seeing that, naturally. So there have been projects that has been adjusted if need be, like if we can't see that we can do all of it, or due to the cost increase. She said we can, scale it back, and we just have to turn in an amendment to her and for approval, things like that. So,
What was our obligation from the village? Do you remember?
15%. So it's right around $7,000, but we allocated like 10. So
Okay.
That's for asphalt around the Union Park, is that?
the walk path, yes, walk path and some benches, things like that. So there are some things that I could probably cut out, a few benches to help, just things like that, just to keep it moving. And I think we can still keep it moving, but I just want to get a firm price since everything's gone up. Asphalt's been up like 12%. So
What if we looked at something like chips and dust to put across there and use that as a base coat at some point whenever asphalt may reduce in price?
well, what I'm going to do, and what I've done before with these, is I'm going to contact A&B Asphalt, see if we can get some of those the asphalt grindings donated for a base. They'd make a heck of a base, once they're rolled in.
We get a good foundation, we could,
Yeah,
hopefully
so-
the asphalt or that product may reduce, and then maybe we go ahead and cap the top of it, but at least we may have to amend that anyway once we start with the park or the park
Yeah,
project.
right. So, but like I said, I think we can. I'm hoping, like I said, I can get some of that grindings donated. I know they're redoing Route 4 and they're reusing it. If I would have been probably ready for it, I could have probably stockpiled some and
Township dump truck possibly too.
So-
Get the town, if we could get that and get into the township truck and double our production, and
Yeah.
come back in here with us
so.
in the township.
But it's coming along good. The guys are cleaning up the brush that they cut out that's been laying there for quite a while because it's been so wet. I think they might have maybe a pile and a half to go. And then I told Doug, just to kind of take it easy on the cutting anymore until we get everything cleaned out, and so we can walk through there and kind of see what we're looking at. If any
He didn't leave a
additional-
hole left.
No, he didn't.
Cut
He didn't.
down. He cleared it out very
Yeah, he
well.
was having
Yeah.
fun.
So,
It's altogether
But
different.
but I just, like I said, the project's going to go on if I can help it. I mean, if we have to put those grindings down and get a roller across them, to make a hard surface, because once the sun hits those things, it kind of seals it back up. So it's still going to go on, but I just want to meet with him to kind of see what his figures has changed to, because I know it's probably changed. Everybody's has.
and what's the total amount of that project again?
43,500.
Thank you.
So I will update everybody after next week on that then. Pothole preparation has begun. Doug started sawing different places around until I pulled him off to get this brush picked up. So while the weather was warm and the ground was dry here, I wanted him to get all that kind of stuff done. So once we do have the park piles cleaned up, then we're going to be hot and heavy back on prepping potholes and getting some hot mix in those places and things like that. So. We did send out 9 letters, zoning violations this week. 5 were grass issues, and the 4 of them were either flat tires or expired tags. So those went out in the mail.
Have you contacted that property owner there on Brunswick? Do we have a resolution on that yet? We've got kind of a double violation on that.
Meeting with him on Monday morning, 9 o'clock at his house.
Good.
So we're going to talk about that. So,
Good deal.
yeah.
Thank you. That may be a future case before the BZA.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Will Houghton, the Eagle Scout, he's doing an Eagle Scout in Settlers Park. I'm going to be starting with him next week. He finally got in contact with The gravel place, concrete place, and somebody that he knows that has some steel concrete forms. He's got everything lined up, so it looks like he's ready to go. I know we've dug those holes out for him quite some time ago, which is no big deal, but I told him I'd get with him. I'm calling him Friday to set up at the time that him and I can go down there and start forming up, and he can wheelbarrow gravel and all that kind of stuff. I'll let him do the hard work. So I'll just be there instructing him, so showing him how to do it. So that's going to be, you'll see some action around there starting next week. The other Eagle Scout, Ian Young, I did contact him again. He sent me an email that he is emailing his district rep to get a presentation underway with him, and once his rep approves it, then he's can start fundraising. So that one's taken a little bit longer for some reason. So, but he's still progressing through that. So, other than that, warm weather's here. We're getting some outside work done, and so.
I appreciate you getting on those potholes because they're just getting out of hand, and I get it. They're difficult. Sometimes you got to dig them up or whatever. But
Well, now's the time we square them off and get them cleaned out and get some good hot mix in
instead of putting the cold patch. That
Yeah.
cold patch is going to come back out. So
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
We'll be working on that heavy. So thank you.
Questions for our administrator?
Yeah, one of the potholes will be the one at the intersection
Yes.
downtown, right in the middle of
Yeah, and I'll be
everything.
getting a hold of the police when we're ready to do that one to have some lights on, so direct traffic, things like that.
Thank
So
you.
Kev, if you could help me out with what's his name, Mike Dill from Conger, some of those questions that he sent to me about the topo and,
Yeah.
and all that.
I'll see what I can come up with. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been playing telephone tag. He called me on Friday, and I've not been able to. I've been out of touch with my email, but
Okay.
I know he's got a second set of questions I passed out this morning as far as the water tap, and things of that nature. So, if we can all get together and get a quick response back to him on some of that stuff,
Sure.
it would.
And I sent you a response.
Yeah.
So
If we can, some of that other stuff, as far as topographical map, I don't even know where to start on that, but.
I don't think one exists.
I don't think it won't have. I mean, the surveyor would have to do that.
Is that where
So,
it comes from?
yeah,
I didn't
that's
know
where it comes from, yeah.
the,
Yep,
Corps of
so-
Engineers, they had anything, or I didn't know where they came from.
Yeah. One other thing, we have a meeting with Mike Hinnenkamp I'm thinking we're at this finalization stage of the employee manual. So that is next Thursday. So hopefully after next Thursday, we'll have a more definite final end to this, I think. So the end is near. That's what I should say. So.
Did we talk about the wastewater down there on that Friday, when we went down there with the water treatment plant?
Talk about what?
Oh, that Friday, when we went down there with the hydrogeologist. We had a meeting since that where we discussed that wellhead protection plan.
No. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'll give an update.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's
yeah,
it.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Questions for our administrator? Any other ones? Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Chief, turn it over to you. Good evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Evening, council and residents. First thing I have on the agenda there is the drug take-back results. Last weekend before that, total we had since the last quarter that we did, it was a few months ago, was 99 pounds. So, but that's Saturday, it's 10 to 2. Kind of eyeing it, maybe about 15 pounds. Maybe 10 pounds that day, something. It was about a box and a half. But, it was there. So I took it down, and they all obviously appreciate everybody participating in that. They meaning the DEA in this area, Michigan, Ohio, and such. Got an officer's resignation on the 5th. It was the sergeant. He resigned, so he's no longer here, which opened his position up. We got Anthony Reynolds will be sliding into that here shortly once we organize that.
How long has Anthony been with the department?
I
I know he came from German
July,
Township.
July-ish, June, July 21. So
Okay.
2 years.
no. He just got his time off of probation there in January, February. It was June or July, but he's got a couple years of experience over there. So
I know he
Yeah.
has some. Yeah. Okay. Good deal.
yeah. And then that puts me down right now. I've got the 2 full-time officers, and then, of course, he'll move into that full-time spot. And then, of course, I have Officer Tyree out there who will continue to be the part-time.
You have a prospect coming out of the academy in July?
I did get an application. Yeah, they're supposed to be done in July. I'm gonna try to interview them maybe this Saturday, Sunday. I know Councilman Hanna said he's got some free time to sit in on an interview panel with me, so I'm gonna get with him, see if I can set that in there.
Good.
Short of that, everybody else in there's got jobs.
Okay.
But we're all right. We get this wage stuff up, maybe we'll figure it out. I did attend the Ohio Association Chiefs of Police annual meeting, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, and we discussed some things on that, but I'll stick to my order here so I don't get sidetracked. I met with Green and schools at the school board. They'd asked that the PD present for a school resource officer. I think I know I talked about it, bringing it up. I did present it to them, and then grants and stuff are interesting. I know we had applied back in 19 or tried to. We sought external grant writers, but I'd had Officer Dunham. She was going to look, but Officer Tyree out there's got a little bit of experience over his vast years in law enforcement and the military, so he's going to help us with that and kind of look around, and hopefully that'll help. I know that the ARPA funds, the state just released last week for retention and I believe some other things to help agencies pay police officers. So that was one of the things I was talking about over there. So I'm gonna look into that. Hopefully, maybe if with council's approval, maybe we can get some money from the state to help hire some officers for a little bit, pay them competitively. And then this coming Monday, May 16th at 6:30 p.m. here at the Enon Library, I'll be hosting a fraud prevention seminar, help people understand about the scams and just miscellaneous stuff like that, all stuff that I know. We'll do that over there. It'll be like intro. I'm going to try to hold some more throughout. So anybody interested in showing up to that, I'd be more than happy to share my knowledge of the scammers out there. Just seem to be taking a hold of everybody across the nation. Under miscellaneous communications, I got a couple things. Effective July 1st, 2022, for those who don't know, consumer grade fireworks are now legal to be set off, with the Ohio approving it for July 3rd, 4th, and 5th, which is interesting. So they can, as long as they're not under the influence of alcohol, miscellaneous things like that, they can shoot off fireworks.
I'm glad to see that come. Just a personal comment. So,
I've been watching fireworks as a police officer since 2004, and I do my job. I tell them they're not allowed to do it, but by the time, such a great distance. So it is, yeah. So I've been watching them forever anyway, but now I don't have to yell at anybody.
Funny how that spreads.
True that.
That's effective this year, you said?
Yeah, July 1st will go into effect. So I imagine about 2 days after that, somebody will probably start celebrating with fireworks, pun intended.
Sure.
Take that long?
Probably not. As long as it is. I don't write the laws. I just try to enforce them best I can. But again, I do enjoy fireworks because I'm partial to that date anyway. It's the birth of our country, independence, right?
Right.
Other great things are born on that day too. We have a parade for the Memorial Day parade, the 22nd at 2 p.m. I signed that parade permit today and slid that down the hallway. They'll be going from Greenon to the cemetery. Much appreciated. I hit my personnel update. Covered the fireworks. I got to hear Gordon Graham again this year. He was our closing speaker today. Absolutely blessed to have that guy support law enforcement. And for those of you that don't know him, he co-founded Lexpol, which is our police department's policy manual that covers everything from A to Z. And it was nice to have him come to Ohio. And I don't know, every time I hear him speak, even if he repeats himself, I always learn something. And I did get the luxury to speak with him yesterday, just personally there for a minute outside of the vendors thing, and so it was kind of nice to just have a little one-on-one with him for a minute. Of course, what did he say? He had, I think they said they have 1,500 cops out there. What was it? The California Highway Patrol every, so what was it, 6 months? So people would come up and say, "Hey, you remember me?" He'd say no, because he was a sergeant there. But anyways, I did see some neat stuff there. I've got a vendor coming over sometime in the next week or so. Technology is an amazing thing, and there's some grants out there, of course, by the state. And this vendor is stating that they just made. It's a camera system to like help with like plates and stuff, wanted vehicles and persons and stuff like that. And I guess a agency up North Lima bought 7 of these, and they were free with the funding, and the company helps you do that. And there's a lot of companies that do that, but they're going to meet with us. I'm going to try to get a hold of the sheriff's office, see if I can't get a representative from there down there for that. I think they're fantastic. I know Montgomery County has a similar system that are stationary, but I thought this, if it is something that our agency could get, especially funded under a grant for safety and stuff like that, it'd be nice for the Apple Butter Festival and miscellaneous events, because I could load Councilman Bear's photo in there, and then when he stepped within so many feet, it'd send us a text alert and tell us that he's there, so we could go talk to him and say hi. But I don't know. I just saw a lot of neat things. I don't know. It's this law enforcement's come such
The
a.
junior chief badge.
When
Got a few vacancies coming up here.
I don't know where this profession is going to be in 10 years, but I just know how far it's come in the last 10. It's just insane. But other than that, community looks good.
Questions for our chief?
Oh, what's the
That's all I
status
got.
on the in-car cameras or the body cams?
Oh, the in-car cameras are ordered. We just have to wait on Axon. They said maybe this year. I mean, that company, they do their own installation. They do not have vendors that do it.
Yeah, okay.
So we're at their mercy. But our body cameras are working great. The extra ones came in. Every officer now has one just assigned to them, and I actually have one sitting over here just kind of hanging out. It's kind of nice. But yeah, and it's easier on them. I know they're frustrated. They're sharing them for a while, and it is frustrating, but they're also expensive, so we needed to wait. So now everybody's got their own, and it just makes life easier.
Any other questions?
I know there was an incident at the high school this last Friday, I think, or a week ago Friday. Was the communication better for us?
Oh yeah, it's K through 12. Yeah, they have good safety measures out there as far as buttons. If somebody had hit what's called the man down button, and they had some students being students. They were protesting.
Did the radio? You're talking radios?
Radios,
Yeah,
yeah,
what-
do we
did
have the communications with the...
I mean, our radios worked pretty much
Good,
like
okay.
they do any other time in there.
Okay.
So,
'Cause
I
there
mean,
was
it's
some
spotty if that's what you're asking.
Yeah,
No,
there were-
nothing's
'cause I know
changed.
there were
No,
issues.
nothing's changed on that. I mean,
Okay.
it's work.
Because they were working on getting some repeaters or something
Yeah,
in the school.
that's not gonna. Yeah.
Is after school ends?
Not
I
yeah.
think, or-
That situation's still the same as it was.
And that's a concern of the fire department as well as the police department.
I mean, it's a concern. Yeah,
Yeah.
across for
And the parents
emergency.
and the citizens.
They're going to install, though, right? They're going to put something.
I had no idea. I don't. So when we
Yes.
met with Marks years ago, I thought they couldn't have a stationary repeater. I hopefully they will put some sort of booster in there. A repeater would require you to switch channels, switch your portable to a different channel, which would be a repeater channel. Is what we bought for our cars a few years back. So I don't. If you know a little bit about it, I don't.
To my knowledge, there's a company that's going to be putting in a amplifier.
An amplifier, yeah,
Yes.
that would. There we go. Yeah, a
But it's
repeater
not
would
going
not
to
be
be done
helpful.
until the school's done, just because it's a 3-week project, and it'd be a lot easier to do with nobody in the building.
That'd be fantastic. And there's
But I don't know
only a
the
month of school
final
left anyway.
plans on that. It really comes down to a matter of money at this point.
Well, you can't put a price on safety. My thoughts.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear that. I did not hear that. I heard there was discussion about working on it, but I didn't know they had
Yeah.
finally. Good. They're going to put some amplifiers in there. That should be helpful. I'll let you know next year.
Any other questions?
Yeah, to follow up on that Friday situation, I know you and I have talked a little bit about that. I've got a real problem about us continuing to babysit with our officers. Thereafter, there is an incident earlier in the day where we've got our officers are tied up there, basically in service to the school and not out per se in the community. I know that we've got a responsibility to the school, but I also feel that at some point the school has a responsibility to provide for their own protection. So for lack of a better term, until we make it very clear to them that our services are there for a limited period of time after an incident, that it behooves us to go ahead and get back on regular patrols. I'm saying that cautiously, but
Yeah.
I
And
think until the school gets a realization that there has to be some cooperation financially to provide an officer there for extended period of times, we're doing a disservice to the other taxpayers.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that particular day, we were there until I wanted to wait till after high school release. So because of the non-life-threatening emergency that we went out there originally for, and again, this is all over social media, so I'm not speaking out of line here. One of the students, somebody made it. They had the reference made a reference to a firearm, and so I had to work. I and all the officers there, we worked with the staff to review some of the security cameras to try to pinpoint who may have uttered that. Trying to, because we obviously take that serious. Clearly, the kids were not serious, but we take that serious. So that took some time and some work, and then just to be safe and to keep everybody safe, because it did involve those elder grades, we worked that out that day. So yeah, that was very time consuming. But that particular day, because of those comments, didn't have
It would have
a
been
choice.
nice for the village of Enon to have had a school resource officer in the building that day. And
Yeah, well, they ended up with about 6 or 7 of us down there that day.
and I know that they they called everybody, but I just it just seems like that's a good example of why we could have been there. And when you respond and we send people to that school, you have an obligation to do what you think you need to do. And like Mr. Hand is saying, if it takes a considerable amount of time, it takes a considerable amount of time, but that's an officer that's not on patrol. And I'm not sure what you do about that, but
I knew how busy it kept me just to having up to 6th grade, so I guesstimated that what we have now is what we would have now, so I don't think I was off, and I knew it was going to take, it was going to up the call, so yeah, hopefully we get something going. I agree, because it's going to cost us regardless, so.
any other questions? All right. Thanks, Chief. Thanks to both of you. Good reports. Appreciate your work. Committee reports. We had a drinking water source protection committee meeting. That would have been, last Friday?
Yes.
And we had Mr. Brent Huntsman, who's a hydrogeologist. He came out and did a couple things. He reviewed our VOC results from our monitoring wells and from our production wells. We have, if I got the number right, 15 monitoring spots that we monitor on some type of a basis, either annually, quarterly, semi-annually, whatever the case is. So we have a really good monitoring system in place. We're doing okay there. It's there wasn't anything out of the usual as far as contaminants, concentrations. One thing we did as well, and met up with Mr. Hanna down at the new property, and we looked at that. We did a visual to see where just a general area, let's say 5 or 10 years down the road, we need to put in a new well, where that might go, where we could put a monitoring well now to help out with our protection zone. So it was very beneficial to have him come out. And I know we talked about a lot of stuff, Rick, down there, and you had a question about, you say the wastewater, was it, when he was down there?
The retention, possibly a retention pond where we might access off of the creek, because the creek is constantly be flowing down there. If we run a divert off of perhaps one arm of that to go into a fishing pond, a reflection pool, whatever you might want to call it, that seems like that would be a great little recreational area. Plus, it would serve as a borrow pit for us to use some of that dirt, sand and gravel or aggregate in order to elevate the property some. So he said that seemed like that was a viable opportunity or viable option for us, and it just so happened that both of those fell on the same day that I had walked the whole property back through there. So very good timing on that day. So.
I think he's going to be a good resource for us in the future when it comes to environmental things and floodplain regulations and fill, because, I mean, that's what he does. So, and he's very familiar with Enon. But it was a good meeting. It was very productive. I am a little bit disappointed that we don't have a representative right now from Speedway. The young man that had worked in that environmental position was either transferred or went to another company or whatever, and they have not filled that. So if I could ask you, Kevin, to kind of stay on top of that, and let's find out when that position is filled, make that person known that, you know, he's automatically on the wellhead protection program, congratulate him, and let him know we hope to see him at the next meeting. So,
Will do.
but good meeting, it was a good afternoon and very productive, so. Any other committee reports?
We're probably going to have a public safety meeting at some point, but with our compadres gone, I think we'll postpone that for right now. But we do have to have one of those very shortly. Our streets and sidewalk, I think we can bypass that for a little bit, Kevin, if you guys are on your zoning, while you're out doing your zoning reviews, to kind of check the roads to see if where we may have some attention that might be needed, rather than doing the full drive-through and,
Sure.
and just knock down 2 stones with one time if we could. And,
Okay.
And just work with that and see what we need to, if we would need a street and sidewalk meeting. But for right now, until we, with the price of asphalt and things of that nature, I don't know if it's really productive, to be honest. So.
Any other committee reports, information, plans? All right, seeing none, we have no old business, no new business. We do have an executive session per Mr. Hannah, so I will entertain comments from the public at this time. Any comments from our public? Good to see everybody. So, okay. So I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session to discuss the employment and compensation of village employees.
So moved.
And I'll second.
So moved by Mr. Hannah, seconded by Mrs. Sweet. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes,
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
7:38.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
7:38.
7:38.
We don't
What's that?
anticipate any.